Welcome to Focus on Claims with Ernie Bray, CEO of ACD.
Hey everyone, Ernie Bray here with ACD, and today on this episode, I got Joel Gendelman from N2uitive. Now, N2uitive is a leading SaaS claims interview recorded statement management platform for the auto, home, and workers' compensation industry. Now, I've known Joel for a while now, for several years, many years actually, and I wanted to have him on to sort of talk about this industry. I mean, things are changing fast, and I wanted to hear Joel's input. So welcome aboard. Glad to have you on.
Thank you, Ernie. Great to be with you. Hope you're well.
Yeah. So, hey, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself first, how you got in the industry? And
Yeah. I've been around a while, over 20 years. So before InsurTech was known as InsurTech. And so really got into this really on the services side. So founded a transcription firm 20 plus years ago that transcribes statements. Still one of the larger firms, Allegis Transcription Services. And so that really got me into working with claims folks, working with claims executives. How do we improve this process? How do we bring efficiency and how do we bring intelligence to the process? And so just really passionate about it, and have founded several companies in the market over the last 20 plus years.
Yeah, I know you're passionate about it. We always talk about tech when we're chatting and stuff. So tell me about like N2uitive, exactly like what you guys do, the company.
Yeah. So N2uitive was spun out of the transcription firm. So that transcription firm was essentially transcribing recorded statements. So the conversation the adjuster's having to investigate the claim, that's 14, 15 years ago now. And those were all recorded on tapes. So depending on how far back your audience goes in claims, they remember mini cassettes, micro cassettes. So N2uitive was really an early digital platform. Could we essentially get these recorded digitally, make it very easy for the adjusters? And then could we start to help them leverage that information in these conversations over time? So we're a SaaS platform. We can be used anywhere, and a lot of adjusters using us from home now. And in the cloud, and sort of in this modern way of delivering software to insurance companies.
Well, when you just said the part about, with a lot of adjusters working at home, have you seen that been a big move for your business where in the past maybe adjusters weren't utilizing solutions like this, or how were they doing? They were doing things, antiquated?
Yeah, it's a little bit still all over the map. I mean, the recorded statement process is something all adjusters do at every company, self-insured, TPAs. So we still a fair amount that are using, kind of handheld recorders and plugging those into their phone and plugging them into their laptops to get the file up. Not very efficient, but we did see quite a lot of interest. We've added a couple customers as in terms of COVID. Carriers, adjusters moving home, and where carriers had systems that were really embedded, on-premise systems for recording. So, we're hosted. If you have a mobile phone or a home phone or a jabber or however you make a call, you can use our system. So we have seen an uplift there, and just a general interest in, cloud solutions and digital solutions in general.
Wow. Hey, with this whole, first notice of loss and getting statements from the beginning, I mean, you see the industry really moving towards self-service and trying to have that vehicle owner or the homeowner report that claim on that FNOL. Yeah. What's the real value of the whole capturing this data, this information right at that point of loss?
Yeah. So it's interesting. I mean, we sit really shoulder to shoulder with first notice, and certainly we see that's going more self-service. Just consumers are going to want to, operate in that way. Really, the recorded statement, the interview, we really kind of follow on to that, right? That's where, it's not a simple fast track claim. This is where the adjuster, I think, really, sort of their intelligence and how they handle it, right? So I think to the extent that we have information from that first notice, oftentimes that's handed off, right, from a customer service person. So that adjuster understanding what was asked, and then they can sort of delve into, okay, it's an investigation. So what happened? Talk to all the parties. So we see that as really connected. And I think that's where connections with companies like ACD and other systems is really, really important to make that whole flow. Yeah.
With the self-service, do you think there's ways for the insurance companies to automate some of this, the information gathering, even on the recorded statement part? Could you?
I think it'll go there. I mean, this is a conversation, and the adjuster is really trying to understand what happened with all the participants, right? So it's a pretty complex investigation, but you can certainly see engaging the insured or the claimant more than they are today. Today it's a phone call, but you could really see them engaging and showing them, hey, let's look at a Google map together, right? Let's take a look at the scene. Can we sort of integrate some of those tools? But ultimately, this is where the adjuster is really, investigating and trying to understand, the liability, decisioning, subrogation, potential fraud. So it's really where the adjuster, I think, is really delving into a more complex claim.
Now you mentioned how you have the transcription portion of the business or transcriptions. How do the transcriptions really help out? I mean, if you can get this data, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so today, Allegis, we're now partnered with Allegis for our transcription. About 8% of statements are transcribed, right? So it's really not every statement is transcribed. And that's really where you need a high quality human generated transcript. A lot of those are for arbitration or subrogation, but certainly adjusters are using those. If it's a complex claim, they're going to round table it. So having kind of that conversation completely transcribed is really, really, really valuable. But certainly with technologies that are coming online, you can do some automated transcription, and you can start to actually surface some data happening in conversations earlier. So we see that certainly happening over the next 5 years. One
thing I get excited about, and we talked about this in the past, is that there's so much structured data and unstructured data, and if there's ways to take those statements and structure them in a way where you can theoretically utilize AI or machine learning down the line to sort of help make decisions, that kind of leads me into my next question is like, where do you see like AI and machine learning kind of where it has potential to drive, innovation in that area?
Yeah, we talk about this quite a bit. I think we have a similar mindset, which is, there's no question AI and ML are making strides in the market, and they're going to continue to. It's a complex, they're complex technologies. So we see efficiency. Can you bring these all, in terms of where we're heading? Can we bring all the things the adjuster is using as they're in the conversation in this statement? They're looking at maps. They may be texting. There's some notes going on. There's some questions, guidance questions. So to the extent we can tag that information and then use that in machine learning ways. So I think it's less about a full-blown transcript of the conversation. It's really, hey, how do we surface things to that adjuster at the right time and right place where they can ask the right questions and really get to the truth of the matter. I mean, they're trying to get to the most accurate, consistent settlements they can. Today, these conversations, Ernie, less than 5% are ever listened to, right? It's still a real-time conversation. So we think of it as dark matter. Our mission is to really get that all together and then that help that adjuster just do a better job of investigation in their company of getting to the accurate settlement.
That makes sense. Yeah. So what are you seeing like successful carriers that you work with or have seen? What are some of the things that they're trying to push now, implementing to really drive, success in that kind of area?
Yeah. I think we're seeing some self-service on the first notice side, some use of chat bots. That's a little bit before we get into the process. But frankly, they're still just getting onto the digital platforms like an N2uitive, right? Where you've got recorders and these other pieces, it's all disparate. How do you get in a single system? You can index it, you can find it, you can data secure it. But ultimately, I think many of our customers and claims leadership are really looking at, hey, how is this? This is an area we're not leveraging a lot. So how do we understand how are adjusters conducting these interviews? Can we help them conduct those more efficiently and effectively and get to, clear, consistent outcomes? Certainly things like shared responsibility, just liability decisioning. These conversations are really where that information is coming to the forefront. And so we're seeing carriers think about that as quality of investigation, and that statements are a key part of that.
Mm-hmm. Would you say, from my perspective, I've seen this, COVID coronavirus situation kind of in some ways sort of accelerate the carrier's interest in some of the digitization of the process. We've seen people obviously from our side want to use more of the photo estimating because of limit human interactions. Yeah. And I've heard some other places too, where people have said, hey, you're seeing like, years of transformation happen in just months because of just the pure need to do this. But I think, wouldn't you agree historically it's been slow, but have you seen an increase from people talking about this now, the need to move to some of these things?
Yeah, I think it's forced some of the carriers, and we have 35, 40 carriers. So we have a pretty good view. Some were pretty prepared, to work from home. Some weren't. So you saw a little bit of a scramble. I think probably you did in the first couple of months. I think it's settled into the current normal. And I think people are trying to anticipate what's going to happen next. Certainly with more of an openness, I think, to hosted, to cloud, to SaaS, and understanding, the value of that. But like you, I've been around the market a long time. It's still complex. There's still workflow adjusters. We've been sitting with adjusters and, it'd been a little bit since I'd done that. Boy, they're busy and they've got a lot of different systems. And so I think people in our shoes can sometimes look at our own technology, but it's got to fit into the ecosystem, and it still has to be an efficient workflow. So I think it's going to accelerate, but I think it's still going to have to happen in a a logical sequence. And we think for workflows a key part of that.
Oh, I mean, I agree. And that's how you and I have been talking over the years. The thing is, with us at ACD, we're really trying to optimize the material damage process. We want to make sure we're removing touch points to basically get that right method of inspection done. You want to have, whether it's photo estimating, field appraising, and all that. And, we've been talking about this of partnering up and integrating our systems. That's one thing we're actually talking about and working on right now. Yes. And I think that really kind of leads to me. I think this industry, and I want your insight on this too, is that in the past, I think things were more segmented and companies worked kind of on their own. But I think there's really the need, and also people are realizing that this partnering up and creating partnerships is really where the value is at, because no company can necessarily really do it alone. Everybody has great pieces. And then give me your thoughts on what you're seeing on the ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've been around this 20 years. So back when I started, most carriers built their own claim systems, right? And they saw that as a competitive advantage. I think today, obviously there's big core systems, and they're saying that, hey, it's how they leverage these systems, and they can't do it on their own. And then, the claims value chain is really long. I mean, you've got a big segment of it. We've got a piece of it. Other people do parts of it well. So how do you get that all together? Not just from a workflow perspective, from obviously data. So if you want to leverage AI or machine learning, you really need all the context for the data. And frankly, technology has, sort of starting to enable that. APIs, the way that you build software, the way that we build software. And I think carriers understand that. And certainly I think just are more comfortable with the quote unquote cloud and what can happen there. So it's an exciting time to, kind of be in the market. But again, I think those pieces have to make sense, and being interconnected in a way that works for the adjuster. We always, we call the company N2uitive because we're very adjuster user focused. A lot of technologies are talked about, presented at conferences, but boy, when it gets in front of an adjuster, it's really got to work, and it's got to be interconnected.
Yeah. And I think when carriers realize that building things in-house is sometimes difficult, they can find great quality partners that can deliver these things out there is really vital. So tell me about some of the things you guys, I want to hear about what you guys got going on in the future here. What are you driving ahead on some new exciting projects? Yeah,
I think, we're on task. We've talked about a partnership. So, we'll likely work with you all to kind of get ourselves available in your platform, which is super exciting for us. We have generally been a standalone by design, so we've been really easy to adopt, but we're now looking at, integrations with big core systems, single sign-on, really to get more embedded. But ultimately, as we spend time with our adjusters and our carrier customers, this recorded statement process has generally been sort of, hey, we record the call, we store it, and maybe we go access it. But really, there's a big workflow, probably about an hour end to end, where the adjuster is preparing. They're looking at data in systems like yours to prepare for the conversation. They're conducting that. They're looking at maps. Maybe they're texting. Maybe they've got video. Maybe they've got images. And then ultimately, they want that data in their claim system. So we're really building a next generation platform that's going to put all that together. Not unlike CRM, like Salesforce, right? Where hey, can we get that all in one place, efficient, and then you have the data that you can start to help the adjusters, ask the right questions at the right time.
That's super exciting. That's super exciting stuff.
Yeah.
So, hey, I want to, is there anything else you'd like to add, anything out there about what you're doing? Because I think right now, the biggest thing in the industry we're seeing is this, like I said, we talked about drive toward digitization. And I mean, for anybody listening to this episode right here, because you're seeing it from the actually the first notice of loss side. I see it from the auto claim side.
Yeah.
Do you see any major shift going on in the industry that people in the industry need to be aware of, or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about those things. Certainly, AI and ML and digital platforms, and they're heading in that direction. I would say from you've been in the market a long time. You've built a great company in ACD. We have too. So. There are new entrants and really smart people that come into insurtech, but really understanding the business, understanding adjusters, that's just more complex. And you really, I think, we both have enough experience to be able to not just sell technology, right? And we've both seen technology come in and get sold to senior levels and then not get deployed, right? So that's not good for anybody. So I would say, the experience counts in this market in terms of the companies that you partner with and that carriers partner with.
Yeah, and I think just like our companies, I know how you work as well. I think when we work with clients and you yourself, is that we really go into the clients. You're looking to sit there and say, hey, now what is your workflow? What are you trying to accomplish? How can you better your workflow? Instead of being seen, like I said, as vendors in the past, I think carriers are a lot more open to seeing us as partners and seeing how we can actually really optimize their workflow, because everything today is really, it's about efficiency.
It is. You know? It is. And I think delivering, and, obviously you've done that. Your team's done that. We have an awesome team. You build, we have long relationships as you do. You have long-time customers. So it's really not just a matter of what's the flavor of the month in technology and get it out there. It's about bringing the right things at the right time and continuing to deliver over time. It's just
exactly right. I mean, I think a lot of people can sometimes, you can see the shiny new object they say out there. Oh, wow, this new thing. But how's it going to work in your workflow?
Correct.
Is it going to really provide a return on the investment? Are you going to move the needle? Are you going to make these things happen? Or is it just because it's the trend? So, and I think, companies like ours, we know, we've been, like I said, been around, and we know what goes on in the industry.
Yeah. So it's a great time to be, I think, in the market, and
definitely,
it's an exciting time.
Well, hey, it's great to have you on, Joel. I'd like you to tell our listeners a little bit, if they're interested in services, how to contact you, how to get a hold of you.
Sure. Yeah. N2uitive. So it's n2uitive.com, which is the letter N, number 2, UITIVE.com. That's a great place. You can reach me at joel.gendelman at n2uitive.com. So I'd say, go to our website. We're out on LinkedIn. We're out on the social platforms, and certainly at conferences to the extent that they're happening virtually. We'll be there as well. So appreciate it. Yep.
Well, hey, it's great having you on, and thanks for giving all of our listeners a little insight on the FNOL and the recorded statement part.
Awesome. Thank you, Ernie. Appreciate it.
All right.
This has been Focus on Claims with Ernie Bray, President and CEO of ACD.